out at Haliday's place, and she's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on here and what she does out here with the horses. So Haliday, let's give me some of your insights on what you do. Okay. We just had some fun working with the horses, so tell us a little bit more about what you do here.
Yeah, so basically I'm an interface between horses and humans, and within that interface some pretty amazing healing can happen. I'm an integrative healer, so I look at body, mind, emotion, and spirit, and there's also an equine labyrinth here. And basically what it is that in this crazy world that we live in, where we have such high stress levels and a disconnect from nature, one of my roles is to reconnect people with nature, however that looks for them. Doing so, I'm really honored to be a facilitator of medicine horses for equine facilitated wellness. It doesn't have to look any particular way. It can be as simple as just spending time with horses, and can be as complex as walking them through the labyrinth. So what horses by nature allow us to do is to be connected with our true self. What I mean by that specifically is as herd animals and as prey animals, they really have a problem with duplicity, or with that facade that we can put on as humans that everything's okay. When we do that with horses, they do their very best to show us that we're doing so by mirroring behavior that we can then choose or not to address. I also am a registered shiatsu therapist, so part of what I do is when I'm working with horses, they'll often show me areas or pathways in the body that they would like to bring into balance, and I can work with that. And so on a massage table, out here with the horses, or a chair or a massage chair, and or just standing or sitting. And so just to simplify it completely, working with the horses, I work with people to create a situation where there's a beautiful flow of healing that happens between two other beings, or sometimes a large group, and so I'm there to make sure that it's safe for everybody involved.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So how did you come to doing this?
Well, I came to doing this by understanding, by reaching a certain point in my connection with animals in the natural world where I felt like there was so much more to it, but I couldn't quite figure out what that was. So at the time, I was lucky enough that Spirit Prince Bliss, who's a Percheron crossed with a Mustang, came into my life and showed me the way. He was a problem horse, but really the problem was me. And so he very gently in his way, as in he bucked my butt right off of him, showed me my disconnect with what he was trying to work with me on, right? So we always expect animals to enter our world and use our references and our framework and our communication. And so what his connection with me allowed me to do was to enter into his world and use his language and his abilities to bring balance to myself. And in bringing balance to myself, he brought balance to himself, right? So there's an equality that happens in that form of integrative healing that's really precious.
Wow.
Did that explain that?
That's great. Okay. Wow.
I don't know. Sometimes, did that explain it?
Yeah, that's amazing. So the connection between the horse and the human.
Yeah. So basically, for example, with Spirit, when he bucked me off one time, I was like, that hurts to get bucked off for one thing, and for another thing, I thought every time I'd go to ride him, I'd think, geez, I hope he doesn't buck me. And of course, so what I was doing at that point is, because horses stayed visual and we went verbal, I was sending him a clear picture of him bucking me off, and he was like, okay, lady, that's what I'll do if you want me to. So the challenge with this kind of connection is to realize what I was doing, right? And then so when I was able to do that through the help of a mentor of mine, to recognize that, I was sending him pictures and he was just doing his best to fulfill it. It really opened the door to a different world for me, a world where I could take responsibility for my own balancing and my own healing in a way that I'm not sure I would have experienced without the help of the equine world. So then my passion and my focus is to be of service to myself, to be of service to others, and that includes animals, right? And so part of being that service is enabling or allowing or facilitating that connection between horse and human, no matter how it looks.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what would be a typical client that you would see that would come in and take advantage of this amazing service that you provide?
So it's individuals come, but also groups. So it can be sibling groups or a club or an organization. So for an example of that, that how a session can look, there was an organization of young people that came, and they were experiencing disharmony within the organization and with their mandate or their activities. And so just by having them stand, and while I was explaining about medicine horses and the work that they do, the horses entrained them into the herd. Well, when the horses entrained them into the herd, it brought their heart rate down to the horse's heart rate. And this is what horses do naturally, right? They have this ability, because they're prey animals, to really entrain the beings around them. And so what it did was it lowered the heart rate of the participants and brought them into a meditative state. Then once they're in a meditative state, then the information and the challenges started coming up to be discussed in the company of the horses. So just by hanging out with these horses in a group, the disharmony within this group was dealt with, and it was dealt with profoundly. Like, it literally altered how they all dealt with each other. So that's how simple it can look.
Wow. So that's amazing.
I know, right? Yeah.
So just about any age group and
any age group, any ability, any challenges, right? Kids who are on the spectrum or youth who are on the spectrum, what I find with them is that I just get out of the way. They communicate visually, the horses communicate visually. I'm the only verbal one there, right? So they're already connecting on a level that I try my hardest to do. So I think it's really important as an integrative healer to recognize my place in that process, and it's a pretty even place with the other being or other beings that are involved in the process, right? Did that answer that question?
Wow. So is there anything else you'd like to add about that?
Yeah, so integrative healing and equine facilitated wellness doesn't have to look any particular way. It can be as simple as standing with the horses, grooming them, walking the equine labyrinth, lying on a massage table in the middle of the field. It can be as simple or as complicated as you want. But the reality is that I'm honored to hold space with these magnificent beings, and invite you to come into that space and consider being in balance when you leave.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good.